You see, I told you this would happen, didn't I? You know, it's when you get caught out, and more importantly, you can't decide which version of events you allegedly are going to stick with. This is now the biggest problem, well, obviously, concerning this alleged author, his agent, and more importantly, the publication that decided to name those names in that now, shall we say, infamous book. As ever, let me explain. Hi, good morning. How are you? Nice to see you as ever, and thank you so much for joining me today. This really is an absolute farce, and let me tell you how this truly works, because the bottom line is this is no mistake. I would put that out there. You simply do not put those names in any manuscripts when you are doing anything litigious of that nature. I've written enough books to know that this is not simply the case. What you do, of course, is you speak to the legal team and your publisher privately and explain the reasons why you've excluded them, and you may discuss it, but you certainly would not put them down in any manuscript. Now, what's happened here, as you can see, is that allegedly the manuscript submitted to the agent accidentally got sent over to a publisher outside the United Kingdom, which makes it very difficult legally to mount a legal battle. That's the only reason it went out there. And in particular, you have to remember that this is an area that doesn't necessarily succumb too highly to royal tittle-tattle books. It isn't an area that does incredibly well. The last book, for instance, bombed over in the Netherlands, so you can understand that. And this is really a cut and paste PR stint, because also, if you remember, a very similar tactic happened with Prince Harry and his tell-all book Spare, where miraculously, somehow, nobody ever really found out that that book got leaked and then was also transcribed well in advance. That's so that people could get tasty morsels and get talking about the book. It's a brand new idea, of course, that publishers, agents, and authors try and come up with from time to make sure it shows up some level of interest. But now, what happens next? I would surmise that simply there's nothing that the royal family can do. It's out there now, and they would be advised to simply brush it off, move over, and of course, forget it ever happened. Now, the bigger picture is this. It's very dark and serious, as one can imagine, for the Prince of Wales, Prince William. Now, really what should happen is the agent should come out of hiding and apologise profusely to the British monarchy, as should the author. But as we've seen, they're running scared, laughing almost at the contempt of what they've created behind the scenes. It's not necessarily the fault of the publisher. They were given a transcript and they've literally translated what they've been given, albeit mistakenly. But for now, whichever way you look at it, this particular individual, alongside whoever's advised him and given him insider info, allegedly, from that particular novel, that book, that letter, well, the other side. Now, the situation is simply this. The author, the publisher, and the agent are now all incriminated, but they know they're out of the legal battleground. Whatever people say, they can only now basically make the British monarchy squirm and having to apologise, or indeed be left wide open to ridicule as and when they're out and about on their, say, charity social engagements. This is truly the lowest of the low, but again, when you have to flog something that perhaps people are now not that keen on, and as you can see, it's dropped out of that Amazon 100 sales, well, even this tactic is doing very little to raise much needed sales. A lot of people are going to be highly embarrassed with the mess that they're now being left with. Neil Sean in the very heart of London.